Good morning, students. Today we begin with a poem. The name of the poem is The Pulley, written by George Herbert. George Herbert, 1593 to 1633, was a Welsh poet, Welsh belonging to Wales, a place called Wales. He was a priest by profession, and it is very clear, it will be very clearly evident from the poem that since he was a priest, his poem also reflects that, and the way the theme of the poem also reflects that he was influenced, that is, being a priest influenced his poem. Okay. He wrote religious poems with a lot of imagery and conceit. Imagery, when the words convey, words bring in front of you a particular image, it builds up. When a poet builds a image with the help of his words, it's called imagery. And conceit here stands for an extended metaphor. Okay, we'll come to this word extended metaphor and what has the poet used as an extended metaphor to bring out the central idea of this particular poem that you will come to know as we read the poem. The poem exhibits a strange but two-way relationship between God and his worshippers. Though he has bestowed his worshipper with all his blessings, somewhere he holds them up with a pulley drawn to be grateful to him in all our endeavor. So the poem talks about all the gifts that God has bestowed on his worshipper or devotee. God gives so many precious gifts to his devotee, but at the same time, God also expects something in return. What does he expect? Why does he withhold? What does he keep back? Why is he reluctant to give something? This is the central idea of the poem. What is he? What is it that he is withholding? What is it that God did not give to his worshipper or devotee? And what does he expect? What was the purpose of keeping something back and not giving something to his devotee? The pulley shows how God lifts man towards himself with a pulley of restlessness. What is distinctly metaphysical about the poem is that a religious notion is conveyed through a secular scientific image. In order to understand this particular poem well, you must first know what kind of poetry this is. It is a poem which is written by a metaphysical poet. What is the meaning of the word metaphysical? Meta means after, and physical refers to physical elements. Metaphysical concept is basically used to answer those questions which are generally above the facts of science. It is very different from science. Then what kind of questions do these metaphysical poets dealt with? They dealt with questions like, why is God above everyone? What is the source of all existence? The themes of the metaphysical poetry generally were related to religion and humanity. And there were many poets like John Donne, George Herbert, who wrote this kind of poetry, metaphysical poetry. The theme of this particular poem is also really related to religion and humanity. Metaphysical poetry generally deals with the themes related to religion and poetry. And here you have the poet himself who is a priest by profession. And therefore, this particular poem is different in the sense that it is written from the perspective of what God thinks. Most of the poems which have been written reflects man's idea. But here you have God's idea or God's perspective is reflected here. So the theme of the poem is generally is to show the mighty power of God. Let us read the poem, and metaphysical poetry generally uses conceit or it uses a particular scientific device in order to explain a particular religious idea. Now, what is the particular metaphor used here in this particular poem? The pulley is an extended metaphor. Children, what exactly is a pulley? A pulley is a scientific device. Okay, and it is used in various places. A pulley is generally used to pull up something. For example, if you have gone to the village or if you have seen how water is drawn out from a well, you know what a pulley is. Basically, it is circular in shape like a wheel, and there is a rope attached to it, and you draw water from the well. Pulley is also used in a cargo lift system where items have to be taken to a higher plane or higher floor. Pulleys are used in exercise equipment in the gymnasium. Then you have in construction sites to lift heavy materials. For example, you have a crane where a pulley is used. Then in modern elevators also a pulley is used to pull weight of the people against gravity. So this particular scientific device, which has nothing to do with religion or spiritualism, is very beautifully used by the poet George Herbert in order to show a two-way relationship between God and his worshippers. So a scientific image has been used to convey a religious notion. What is that religious notion that the poet is talking about? Let us read the poem and we will be able to know more about how the poet has used this particular extended metaphor. Just a minute, children. I'll begin with the poem and then it talks about when God first made man. Okay, the biblical concept or the way it's given in the Bible. When God at first made man, see God G is capital and man M is also capital. Both these words have been given a lot of importance. Both are important. When God at first made man, having a glass of blessings standing by, let us, said he, pour on him all we can. Let the world's riches, which dispersed lie, contract into a span. It talks about the beginning when God made all the other things and at last he decided to make man. He was not very happy. After creating everything, still he was not happy. He wanted someone to appreciate all the beautiful things that he had created. That's why he decided to make man. When God at first made man, all the blessings that he had was in the form of a glass. He had all the blessings and he said that let me pour all the blessings on him. Let all the world's riches which lay scattered, dispersed, scattered, contract into a span. Let me bring together all those riches and let me bless him with all those riches. In the first answer, if you talk about the rhyme scheme, the ending word of the first line is man. Second line by. Man and by don't rhyme. So we have A for the first line, B, then man and can rhyme. So therefore again A. Lie and by rhyme. So again B. And span. Man, can and span rhyme. So A, B, A, B, A. So the rhyme scheme of this particular first stanza is A, B, A, B, A. So God decided to bless man and pour on him all the world's riches which were dispersed or scattered, and he contracted them into a span in a small space. And what were the gifts that he bestowed on man? So strength first made a way, then beauty flowed, then wisdom, honor, pleasure. When almost all was out, God made a stay. Okay? God stopped for a while. So he first bestowed on him all the good things: strength, beauty, wisdom, honor, pleasure. Everything was given to man. It was given to man as gift by Almighty God Himself. But when everything was almost given, when God had bestowed almost everything on him, all these blessings, children, attached with were attached with a catch. That means they were all given, but something God decided when everything was given, he decided to stop for a while. He was reluctant, perceiving that alone of all his treasures, rest in the bottom lay. Okay? When the glass was almost empty, at the base lay rest. Rest is peace of mind, contentment, satisfaction. Okay? This particular jewel, okay, he noticed that all the other treasures were given and only rest was there at the base of the glass. For if I should, said he, bestow this jewel also on my creature, he would adore my gifts instead of me, and rest in nature, not the God of nature. So both should losers be. God thought for a while. He was reluctant. He stopped. He said, if I am going to bestow this rest, what is this rest? Solace, comfort. If I am going to give man or bestow on man solace and comfort, what will happen? If I bestow this jewel, so it's very precious. If I bestow or give this jewel also to my creature, my creation, okay? If I bestow this on man, what would be the result? He would start adoring all the gifts given by me, and he would be very comfortable and he would forget about me. He would adore all the gifts, okay? And therefore, God decided to restrain from giving this particular gift, okay? Let him keep all the other qualities. That's what God decided. Yet let him keep the rest. Let him have all the other things: strength, beauty, wisdom, honor, pleasure. But keep them with repining restlessness. Let him be continuously anxious to get more and more of these things. And his desire to acquire all these material things will make him more greedy, will make him more restless. He will continuously remain anxious. He will continuously remain dissatisfied. Let him be rich and weary. Let him become very tired. How will he become very tired? He'll be rich, but his greed will not allow him to be at peace. He will continuously want more and more and more and more, and therefore he will remain restless. And in this state of being not satisfied, dissatisfied, okay, when he becomes tired running after the material things, that at last, this dissatisfaction, this discontentment, okay, this anxiety, this lack of solace and comfort, okay, if goodness not lead him, if not his goodness, yet weariness, his being tired, his anxious, being anxious, okay, his tiredness due to after running after all these material things may toss him to my breast. It will bring him back to me. This fatigue, weariness, discomfort will lead him back to his origin. That is, he has come from God, and so he will go back to him. For solace and comfort, he will have to return back to God himself. He will have to think of God himself. So, therefore, the pulley, which is actually a scientific device, has been used here as an extended metaphor. Okay, the pulley of restlessness has been with the pulley of restlessness. Why is it called a pulley? Because this restlessness will act like a pulley, will pull up God and will pull up man and take him to God himself, will toss him to my breast, will bring him closer to me. Okay? So, the pulley shows how God lifts man towards himself through the pulley of restlessness. Rest is in Hindi, it is aram. When there is rest, when there is solace, when there is comfort, when man doesn't get this peace of mind from all the material things, for real solace and real happiness, he turns towards God. Aram. He returns back to God. He knows that it is the only thing, okay, that will help him to have peace of mind. Okay. So it is a devotional poem, children, and this poem, the restlessness that man will experience, will pave the path ultimately to his redemption. Okay. So it is a very beautifully written poem. Discontentment. A man's discontentment stems from what he doesn't possess in the physical world. Okay. Continuously, right from the time he starts thinking and he has desires. He wants to do this, wants to do that. And throughout his life, he's in this mad rat race of acquiring more and more material things. But in his rat race to acquire these material things, there is fatigue, there is tiredness. And although he manages and he fusses over all his material possessions, okay, he will not find the real rest and peace. He'll always remain anxious. And this restlessness will become a pulley which will pull man towards God. If not his goodness, just for the sake of seeking satisfaction and solace, man would try to return to God. He would pray to Him, he would pray to Almighty. Okay? And in this way, his restlessness would act as a pulley and lead him to this very origin, that is God Himself. Now, let us talk about the various figures of speech that are used in this poem. Let's take up the first line. When God at first made man, the alphabet M is repeated, so therefore it's alliteration. Then you have other figures of speech. Again, you have beauty flowed, then wisdom, honor, pleasure. Ideas are expressed in ascending order of importance, so therefore it is climax. Rest in the bottom lay. Rest in the bottom lay. Again, it is inversion. So both should losers be. Both should be losers. That should be the right order. So both should losers be. Again, inversion. Antithesis. Let him be rich and weary. How can a rich person be tired at the same time? Rich person is supposed to enjoy all sorts of comforts. Okay. Then you have the use of pun. Rest in the bottom lay. When the word has more than one meaning, it is called pun. Rest here implies the last blessing of God, and rest also implies relaxation. Okay, so therefore it has got two meanings, so therefore it is a pun. Bestow this jewel on my creature. Rest is compared to a jewel. Bestow this jewel, this rest which is like a jewel. If that is given that way, then it will be simile. But here directly it is uh, said to be a jewel. Bestow this jewel also on my creature. It is metaphor. Indirect comparison between the jewel and blessings. And rest in nature and not the God of nature. Again, repetition. The word nature is repeated in the line for poetic effect. I hope, children, you have understood the uh, central idea of the poem. Now, coming to one of the important questions which is given in the textbook, the poet has used the word rest thrice in the poem. Okay? He has used it in the second stanza, the third stanza, and the fourth stanza. Rest in the 10th line. The meaning of the word rest in the 10th line is twofold. Rest in the bottom lay. Rest stands for the gift of rest. The line is an example of a pun because the poet says that the remaining gifts lay at the bottom of the glass along with the gift of rest. So there's a pun. Two meanings are given of the word rest. Rest here since remaining, and also rest stands for the gift of rest, that is solace or comfort. In the 14th line, the word rest means to credit. If God bestows this very rest on his creature man, then he would try to adore all the other gifts, okay, instead of giving credit to God. He would think only of the gifts that he has got, and he would very coolly forget God. So both would be losers. So rest here stands for if God bestows this particular gift on man himself, then both should be losers. In the 16th line again, rest word is used. It means the remaining gifts except the gift of rest. God withheld the gift of rest because of its special nature. Because if he felt that if man has this gift, then he will not desire anything else. He might not even think of seeking the Lord's blessings or wanting to know more about God or the Creator. Okay? So, figures of speech very important. And here you have the question answers which are given uh, in question number 3. You have your printed notes with you, children. So I want you to read and revise again and again the questions that are 4 questions are given here on page number 73. And I want you to do all these textbook questions very well. Okay. So children, we have completed this particular poem. Meaning of the word pulley. What is the pulley used for? Then you have in the English workshop, you have a pyramid, building up a pyramid. Okay. Let's come to that pyramid, which is given here in the question answers. Let's have a look at it. English workshop. With the help of clues, pick out words containing the letter A from the poem and build a word pyramid. An article. Only have one alphabet. A is an article. A preposition, at. Past tense of lie is lay. See how you're building the pyramid? You take one alphabet, one common alphabet to the next set, and again one common alphabet to the third level. So an article is a preposition at, one more alphabet is added. The next past tense of lie is lay, L-A-Y. Again, you've taken one. Maximum length of your open palm is called a span. Make much of, adore, loveliness, beauty, in place of, instead. A collection of priceless valuables is called treasure. Restlessness and discontent, weariness. So in this way, you will notice that the alphabet A, we started off with alphabet A, but every time we have retained that one alphabet till the end or the base of the pyramid. We start from the top of the pyramid till the end of the pyramid, we have retained the alphabet A. Okay, this is the word pyramid. Now let's talk about choose the correct alternatives from the following. Herbert's poem The Pulley displays dash as two main themes. What are the two main themes? Origin and morality, spirituality. This is the main theme of the poem. Summary of the poem, The Pulley is, what is the summary of the poem? To remind man about his creator in his exhaustion, and God pulled man towards him by making him restless and weary. So you can have two ideas that give you the summary of the poem. In the poem, the pulley is considered, okay, a mechanical device, a gift to mankind, an image to lift objects, an image by which God compels people to become devout. It is an image by which God compels people to become devout. They become his devotee because they are pulled towards him due to restlessness. They have no solution for this particular anxiety or restlessness, and that is why they turn towards God. Dash is an example of pun from the poem. Rest in the bottom lane is an example of pun because the meaning of the word rest has got two meanings. Having, okay, dash is an example of paradox from the poem. Paradox is a figure of speech where you express two contradictory or opposite ideas are given in the same line. Here you have the third option, let him be rich and weary. How can a rich man is all comfort, so how can he be tired? So let him be rich and weary. Opposite contradictory ideas, but true ideas are expressed. So it's an example of paradox. Okay. That is an example of alliteration from the poem. Repining restlessness. Our alphabet is used. Example of inversion from the poem. So both should losers be. The rhyme scheme of the poem we have already discussed. A, B, A, B, A. Okay. So we come to the end of this poem, children. There are four questions given. We have already discussed this. The word rest has been used twice in the poem. And write the word that implies in each of the three lines it occurs. Just now we have discussed that. The printed notes have been given to you. Go through the printed notes very carefully. It is an important poem and it can come up as either a comprehension or for a poem appreciation. Many of you in the activity sheet have presented the poem appreciation in the form of poems. But poem appreciation, children, for 5 marks has to be written in a paragraph format and not in the form of points. Okay, this time I have given you marks for your activity, but you have to be very careful that you have to put it down in the paragraph format. The points which have been given, like the title, the name of the poet, central idea of the poem, favorite lines, figures of speech use, all these points have to be included. But necessarily, the particular appreciation has to be written in the paragraph format. Thank you, children. Revise the poem and go through the printed notes and go through all the questions which are given in the textbook. These questions become very, very important. So if you get a comprehension for the board paper, you will have these questions which may be twisted in a slight way, but more or less the questions will be, answers will be the same. Thank you, children. Have a good day.